Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I was watching The Kindred, and all I could think was, I fucking dread watching this film again.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss The Kindred, which released in 1987, from writers Stephen Carpenter, Jeffrey Obrow, John Penny, Earl Ghaffari, and Joseph Stefano, and directed by Stephen Carpenter and Jeffrey Obrow. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Dr. John Hollins. His mum has just had a near-fatal heart attack and has awoken, realising that John has to go and destroy her house because his brother, Anthony, has escaped and all of her mad experiments may be found out. When John goes to the house, he decides, I'm actually going to look into my brother, Anthony, and research these experiments. His close friend, Dr. Lloyd, though, has come to the house to try to stop him and steal the experiments for himself.
It's kind of refreshing, to actually get a horror movie from the 80s that I've never even heard of.
I don't know, mate. After a while, you start to think there's a reason.
Well, I mean, you're still always rooting out for that hidden gem, that forgotten masterpiece, that slimy, creepy monster feature that's been lost in time. Just like this film has, because it was only a few years ago, like 2021, that it finally got like a DVD, Blu-ray, 4K release after just existing on VHS for the longest time.
Yeah.
So one of those late movies that finally got to see the light of day.
Yeah.
And for the most part, wishing it hadn't.
Yeah, like, why haven't either of us heard of The Kindred? And all I could think at this point in my life was, there's a reason why. If nobody owns this film on DVD or Blu-ray or 4K...
It's because it didn't exist.
Yes,
Yeah.
but also because nobody actually wants to own it. It's one of those films, like you said, that should have just stayed in the basement underneath those wet, rotting pieces of wood that you just don't move because there's something slimy and horrible down there. And this film just is all over the place. Like this opening, I couldn't believe. I had to keep looking at my notes and reminding myself what's going on. So we're following this Porsche. This car is speeding down the road. And it comes across a van that it gets caught behind, and there's an old man and old woman driving. So it pulls out in front, and I'm immediately thinking, well, it's late at night, you're driving fast, you're in oncoming traffic, so there's bound to be a crash. Then all of a sudden there's a house in the road, and he smashes into the house, and there's an explosion. And I'm like, oh my God, that guy is dead. But then the ambulance turns up, and they go, hey, this guy's still alive. And I'm like, okay.
He doesn't seem to have any burn marks on his body at all.
Yeah, like, how is this connected to the Kindred, I suppose? Maybe he's attached to the family, but...
That's because there's this other guy watching to see whether he's still alive or not. And then he chases after the ambulance as it's on its way to the hospital, and he starts ramming the ambulance off the road.
Yeah.
Knocks out the other guy, and then takes the body from the back of the ambulance, puts it in the car, then comes back and beats up the driver and throws some money on him.
Because we realise the driver's in on this, and there's like a small lucrative black market business of them taking the bodies. Now, did he take the body to Dr. Lloyd?
Yes.
Right, okay, just to check, because Dr. Lloyd, played by Rod Steiger, Rod Steiger is a classic actor.
Hell yeah.
Al Capone, fucking Amityville.
Get out!
Yeah, this guy has got acting credits up the wazoo that you're like, my God, that's a great actor. And then you get to this stage in his career and you're thinking, oh my God. You pulled a Michael Caine.
Right.
You pulled a Michael Caine. You took the paycheck, you read some lines, and you went, nah. Because we then cut to Dr. John Hollins, who is at the hospital. Hollins, played by David Allen Brooks, who I looked on Wiki.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got no Wiki page.
Oh.
Which was not a good sign if your main actor doesn't have anything. Rod Steiger
disappeared after this.
Oh yeah, Rod Steiger, I could have gone for hours on Rod Steiger's page. Kim Hunter, who plays Dr. Hollins' mum.
Yes.
She's got a huge page.
Hell yeah. Zira from Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah.
Lovely actress.
Absolutely amazing, yeah.
Yeah, but in this, she's like, it's just comical. Her performance in this is not really believable. The way that she kind of switches, like from, oh, why didn't you just pull the plug? I was dead. Like, just let me go.
Yeah.
Oh, God damn it. That reminds me. You need to burn my house down.
Yeah.
And get rid of all the experiments and all my journals, but don't look at any
Don't
of
look
it.
at it.
Just burn it all.
Just burn it.
You might have had a brother. I'll go back to sleep now.
Anthony!
Yes, doctor.
Who is that?
Watch your respiration.
Your brother!
Oxygen up to 60.
That sequence, oh my god. Like I said, we've just gone from this Porsche exploding, with these bodies being taken to the hospital, with Hollins finding out his mum's come out of this coma. Like, we don't even know she's in a coma at this point. They literally turn to him and go, hey John, your mum's awake. And he's like, brilliant!
Yeah,
and
I
you're
think
like,
she was in a coma for like 3 years, apparently. It's like, how long? So the experiments have just been running themselves, or they're probably all dead now, right?
but Dr. Lloyd's just like, hey John, I've heard your mum's awake. And John's like, yeah. And Dr. Lloyd's like, brilliant. And you're like, oh, they're friends. And he gets into the van with Sharon, and Sharon goes, I don't trust him. And I'm like, you don't trust Dr. Lloyd already? The movie's not even started. I have no idea what's going
He
on.
immediately screamed villain from the moment he turns up in the film. Just like, yeah, clearly the bad guy.
I mean, yeah, well, yes, it is Al Capone, but
yeah.
I think it was when he was experimenting on that prosthetic cat thing, which I thought...
Is that what it was?
I think so, because it was making weird cat noises, and then he's experimenting. And I was hoping for a nice close-up or something on this prosthetic effect, but there was nothing, which worried me.
Okay.
Because if a movie's not going to throw the special effects in my face, they're going to hide it.
Well, they'll throw plenty of other things in your face.
But like this moment where the ambulance driver turns up at this secret laboratory
Right.
that Rod Steiger has. Like, I assume it's at the hospital, but I don't know.
I think it's got to be at Miskatonic somewhere, and you know that Dr. Herbert West is probably in the office next door. Probably trading, subjects.
Well, he brings the ambulance driver in, and the ambulance driver's like, look, I'm going to need more money if you want all these new bodies, because I keep getting beaten up, and the people are starting to know. And Dr. Lloyd's just like, well, okay, yes, I'll think about money. Come with me. Hey, yes, we'll walk all the way through this place, down to this evil basement place. Why don't you go into this dark room and wait for me?
Yeah, the money's in there.
The ambulance driver's like, okay. And
Especially after he's just gone, yeah, you've got a killer's eyes. I
don't
can't trust
the
you.
killer.
In I go. Oh no, I've been deceived.
One thing I learned from my daddy. Never cross a guy who's got the eyes of a killer.
You think I've got the eyes of a killer?
Yeah, you do.
What is this? The People Under the Stairs sequel? All of these monstrosities, all these freakish people, these forgotten experiments or whatever, just make their way to him and then end up opening the door. He's trying to keep the door closed, and they end up dragging him and pulling him out from the bottom.
I was hoping he'd get impaled
Something,
or pulled in
anything.
half, and nothing.
Pulled off screen.
Yes, I was really kind of worried. Now, you're probably thinking, oh wow, let's see where that goes. It doesn't go anywhere, honestly, because John and Sharon, played by Talia Balsam, have driven up to John's mum's house, which...
Well, wait, before that, we
Right.
also had Dr. Lloyd go back in and see Amanda Hollins.
Oh, yes.
And that's where she dies, where he's just like, tell me about your experiments, tell me. Because, of course, John had gone to go and see him and, like, explained, like,
it.
oh, yeah, I hear about a brother I might have had.
Yeah, my brother Anthony and...
Oh, no, okay, never mind then.
Al Capone's like, no, never heard of this at all, ever. No, I don't look shifty.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, out of the entire movie, that sequence with Amanda Hollins and Al Capone in the hospital, and he doesn't kill her, because I thought he was going to suffocate her, but he kind of just inputs stress into her so much that she has a heart attack. It was probably the best acting in the entire movie.
Probably
I
was,
fully
yeah.
believe
Yeah.
that he was angry at her and she died of a heart attack. And that was it.
Yeah. I mean, I also have to say, I'm kind of a little bit smitten with Amanda Pays.
Right.
I remember her from Leviathan.
Yeah.
Another guilty pleasure of mine. Really like that film. And she turns up at the funeral.
Yeah, she does.
She's like, yeah, you don't know me, and I don't know you, but I'm a big fan of your mother's work.
I'd like to come round and look at her stuff. And John's just like, okay, yeah, I've completely forgotten that I have this girlfriend relationship thing going on. Now, Amanda Pays, yes, she was in Leviathan, but Leviathan isn't Aliens or
The Thing.
The Thing or Deep Rising. And so whenever I think of Leviathan, I don't think of it fondly.
Oh man, Peter Weller, Ernie Hudson. It's like,
Yeah, okay. But same with Kindred. I see Amanda Pays turn up, and she is... All of the actors in this movie are doing what they can with what they've got. And as you've got 5 script writers, everything's changing daily, day out. People don't know what the hell they're doing.
And 2 directors.
And 2 directors. They are doing their best. And I suppose on that hand, Amanda Pays is a brilliant actress because she's doing what she can with the stuff that she's got to work with. On the other hand, like this funeral sequence where she does explain to John that she wants to come and look at all the notepads and stuff. And so we follow John and Sharon go up to the house on their own, and they take their dog up with them, Duke, which I was like, oh, yeah, Duke, I like that name. And they go to bed. And while they're in bed, Melissa turns up in the middle of the night and just kind of opens the door, watches them sleep, and then walks away. And I'm like, that's not freaky as hell.
Well, it's just setting up this weird love triangle, which doesn't really go anywhere either.
No.
But it's setting it up.
Because when David Allen Brooks acts in his sequences with Melissa, he's obviously playing off this smitten guy who's kind of enthralled by Melissa. You know, she's actually a mystery and she's kind of attractive and he kind of likes her. But he completely forgets he's got a fucking relationship.
Well, that's because she's locked herself into the study for the rest of the movie. And then she turns up going, yeah, you fancy her, don't you? Don't you? And he's like...
Man.
Oh, I'm leaving now. He just leaves the room.
Don't get me started on this shitty relationship between Sharon and friggin' John. Because they have a dog. Mm-hmm. Dog's named Duke. And Duke finds something coming out of the kitchen floor and decides he's going to eat it. This crappy tentacle thing. And then it pulls him into the basement and he's killed off screen. Sharon and John go to bed. They fucking go to bed. They sleep through it. They get up the next morning. They have coffee. They chat. They get a little bit jealous over fucking Melissa being there. But nobody mentions the fucking dog once.
Yeah,
who goes to bed?
She does. She goes, oh, I can't find him. And he goes, oh, he's probably off exploring somewhere.
Bro, who goes to bed and doesn't find their dog first?
These 2, apparently.
But that's okay because John's invited all of his other friends up.
Yes, his other colleagues from the hospital.
We've got Hart, Nell, Cindy and Brad, and Hart is the ex-boyfriend to Cindy, if that's relevant to the information, because Brad's a sex pest and just literally walks into the room with Melissa and goes, I'm going to kiss you now because you're beautiful. And then he kisses her and he's kind of freaked out by it, but you don't know why. I'm like, is she a zombie? What's all that about?
Yeah, it's just odd. It's just like, okay, I mean, I didn't really think much of it at the time.
No.
But it definitely will come up later in the film.
Yeah, it was just a really awkward kind of sequence. And
now, the thing here is that, like, this is where the film sort of is really set. Like, the rest of the film is at this house.
Yeah.
And they're there. They've been told, or John's been told, burn everything, destroy everything.
yeah.
And
don't look.
And I think it's Brad who's just like, we should probably look in the basement. And John's like, nah, don't look down there. That's the end of the movie down there. Don't go down there yet. We're only 20 minutes in, please. So go look everywhere else for now. Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. That for me was like, that's how I felt. Like, this film's now going to be padded up the wazoo until things kick off.
Yeah.
But we do follow this other lady. I can't remember her name, but she's the one who's turned up with the watermelon.
That's Nell.
That's Nell, okay. And she's brought this for her parents' 35th anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what you do.
It's quite accurate for the movie.
And I think it's Brad who's about to carve it up, and she's like, no! I'm going home with my watermelon.
Yeah.
She gets in the watermelon, she puts it in the car, and she drives off.
But we'd seen the tentacle that had killed Duke the dog come up and go near the watermelon, and then when Brad had come to get the watermelon, it was moving. So we're kind of assuming that something's inside the watermelon.
Yeah.
And so Nell takes it and puts it in her car, and she's driving away, and one of the tentacles comes out, and you're thinking, okay, is it a tentacle? Is it a snake? Is there going to be loads of them? And loads of tentacles start coming out and interacting with Nell while she's driving. And then this fucking baby-headed tentacle creature fucking thing erupts from the melon.
It's like a cross between that little creature from Men in Black and E.T.
Yeah.
Covered
yeah.
in slime
Yeah.
and tentacles.
And it's just got these really weird mouth with teeth and those crappy little eyes. There was a cool effect in this whole car chase sequence thing with Nell, where one of the tentacles goes into her face and was kind of going up into her head, and she's trying to drive and not crash, but she's screaming because this thing is attacking her, and then she does completely go off the road and ends up upside down in a river, and you're like, okay, so she's got to be dead, and the other thing's possibly dead too. Doesn't matter. Nobody mentions her at all.
No, it's never brought up again.
Never brought
just
up.
gone.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hart at this point, who everyone kind of likes, like everybody was like, yeah, Hart's a really nice guy, other than Brad. Brad thought Hart was a dick. Hart's wandering around, and I thought it was pretty good because John's mum's house was like, appeared to be in the middle of nowhere, at least connected to a road so they could drive up. And then there was a beach.
Right.
And then there was some stables.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
It's quite this remote location, but it's got everything
It's
you could
got
possibly want.
everything you need.
And so, yeah, he goes wandering around the barn, and he sees something slimy, sees some remains, and then he's jumped by the creature.
Yeah. And it wraps its tentacle around his neck. And luckily, Hart grabs a scythe, I think it is.
That's right, yeah, or a
and
sickle,
chops the
yeah.
tentacle off. And he runs back to the house. And he complains that obviously he's dying. And Melissa is the first one to see him. And she's like, what is it? And he tells her. And then she's like, don't tell anybody.
We don't want to panic everyone.
Yeah,
Tell them it was a wild dog.
Dog. Yeah, I'm like, well, that's worse.
Right.
Isn't it? Have you not seen Cujo? So everyone comes out like, oh, what's going on? And she's like, Hart says it was a wild dog. And John's like, I don't believe you. I know something's up because I kind of fancy you and you've been acting kind of mysterious.
Well, it's the fact that he also, like, I mean, I did like the cut from the water going into the river, then to the ocean and her swimming in it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so there's another clue that something's a little bit fishy here. And also the fact that he's kind of, well, like stalking her, I guess.
That's
like, I mean,
it.
did he just wander to the beach randomly?
Exactly. He
You know,
wasn't dressed for beachwear.
Nope.
And he's complete on his own. But lo and behold, did she follow him to the beach and then fucking swim really fast out there just to come? Don't know.
So Hart ends up going to the hospital, and then John ends up going there a few scenes later, and the doctor's like, well, it's clearly no dog.
fuck.
But we did find all of this weird stuff in his system. We cleaned him up, and he's going to be all right. You can't really talk to him. He's on loads of medication.
Yeah, and John's like, I'm going anyway.
And and Hart's fully awake. He's just like, yeah, it wasn't really a dog.
No,
Oh yeah, I'm on medication. Oh no.
Yeah. Melissa, who's been left at the house on her own because Sharon's locked herself in that room doing paperwork.
Research.
Yeah.
Compiling all of the notes. I
God
don't
knows
know.
what. Wanders around in the basement and finds a secret door to Narnia. it was just behind. It's not even hidden, really. It wasn't like a switch or anything. She like moved the coat and she's like, "Ooh, secret lab." And she walked in there and she's looking around, and you realise that, well, John's mum Amanda has been secretly experimenting on these weird baby tentacle things, and this is what the Kindred is, I suppose.
Right. She's like, oh, I should probably open one of these. Why? Oh no, it's alive! And it's trying to get out, I think.
I was fucking dying how long it took her to put that lid on. Like, oh, I'm going to make it so tense. Oh, I can't put it on. And then she chops his little arm off. I was like, bitch.
Well, I mean, he's probably got no bones in his arms, so kind of jelly arms. But then she's like, well, you know, I'll just take it. I take it to go and see Dr. Lloyd.
Yeah.
Dr. Lloyd pins it onto his table, and he's like, I must have more of these. I must have the adult.
Yeah.
I need John. Bring me John. She's like, but doctor, I need the medication. And he's like, you need a stronger dose, do you? Well, do as I command, and you will have your medication. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I was just like, no, that's not how that would work, really. I've already done your work. Give me some medication.
I'll make a deal with you. You do this for me, and I'll make you a stronger medication. Fair?
But before she does take it to go and see Dr. Lloyd, there was the other scene just to complete that love triangle thing that was going on, where she's wearing, you know, some very provocative clothing, and she starts kissing him, and then after about 10 seconds, he's just like, actually, I can't be doing this, so no. And she's like, well, maybe later, and he's like, well, you know, don't. She's like, maybe I'll find you in your room tonight.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, my girlfriend, she's a light sleeper. Don't do it. And she's like, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
And in she creeps into the middle of the night. I was like, she's actually going in there.
Yeah, but
and
she
then she
steals
takes
the
the
car
keys.
key.
Yeah, right. It's like, okay, and that's pretty much the end of that. Yeah.
But yeah, Melissa will come back to the house, and Brad's been left at the house on his own, and he's found information on Anthony's weakness. Electricity. If he electrocutes this thing, then, they'll be able to kill it. And John finds out that people are lying, and he heads back to the house, and he starts to question Melissa. And Hart, at this point, has decided that he's going to escape from the hospital and head back to try to
warn his friends.
Warn everybody and help everybody.
And yeah, so while he's like rushing down these hospital corridors and all the orderlies are trying to stop him, he gets away, gets into the ambulance and drives off.
He's just got, luckily they left the keys there, yeah.
Yeah. And back at the house, this is really where, we're skipping like them finding the record players and the tapes and the weird music that she was playing to lull.
That lullaby.
When he was being rambunctious.
Fucking doing my own.
Yeah. So all the boring stuff. So we skip now to some good stuff. And it's Melissa who ends up getting tentacled through the window and pulled up to the wall. And they end up attacking it. They end up pouring something over it to break her free. And the tentacles disappear, and then she collapses. And then she starts mutating
into a fish.
Her ears recoil inside her head.
Yeah.
Like she gets gills on her sides and on her side of her face as well. And she's just like, I came into contact with the same stuff that's in your brother. And I needed medication, otherwise I turned into a deep one.
Yeah.
Damn. And then she dies.
I was
like, there was a bathtub right behind her. They could have just filled her with water and put her in there. I don't know if it would have helped.
I was trying to study this sequence for a little bit because the tentacles have gotten like massive, so you just completely assume that Anthony is a big tentacle thingy underneath the house. Like we said, they haven't properly gone into the basement, but most of the experiments are down there. And then when that came in and grabbed Melissa, and then she started turning into the girl, the gill thing, I thought the effect was pretty good, but I was like, and the reason is why? And the reason is why? And there is no reason. And she died. And then Brad gets pulled over to the chute with the tentacle, doesn't he?
That's right, yeah.
And he's being attacked by the creature as well.
So yeah, they managed to also free him, but then it's John's girlfriend who ends up walking and then just falling through the floorboards.
Yes.
Now, granted, it was set up earlier that the wood was rotten.
Yeah.
But then, down she goes. I was like...
It's a hell of a drop.
Hell of a drop and a hell of a set. Like, I was like, okay, it actually reminded me of Pet Sematary just a little bit.
I kind of felt bad for Talia, though, because she's in that puddle and she was caked in all this gunk. And this is where now Anthony kind of appears, and he is literally just a really big version of one of the baby things that we've seen.
Yeah.
And it's still bad effect, even now in a bigger form.
I don't know. I think like for the practical effects, it's not too bad. I kind of dug it. Like, considering everything else has been so bad, this was a real highlight for me. I'm like, finally, there's something worthy of on screen.
Right, exactly. Something is being put together, but at the same time, it isn't molding well enough because, John's like, I have to get down into the basement and I have to rescue, my girlfriend. And Cindy and Brad are still staying at the top. But then as John goes down to rescue Sharon from Anthony, they crawl through this kind of like tunnel thing, don't they? And they end up back into one of the chutes.
It was the laundry chute, yeah.
The laundry chute to climb back into the house. But Cindy accidentally falls into the hole when Anthony comes out.
Yeah.
And so then she's gone into the muddy hole where fucking
it was that horrible sequence where they're holding on to her hand like, Cindy, don't let go.
Don't let me go. I love you too. Oh my
God. Pull her up, damn it. Like, this was so stretched out. And then in she goes, and that's her for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. She hides down there. But luckily, if you've forgotten, Al Capone's in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And Rod Steiger's just like, I need to turn up because obviously the gun I gave Melissa to try to subdue Anthony hasn't worked. I have to come up with another plan. And so he turns up and you have this whole confrontation between Rod Steiger and John about Anthony and the experiments. And it's so bad. It's so bad because the guy playing John is not a very good actor in comparison to fucking Al Capone, Rod Steiger. And Rod Steiger is fully selling it at this moment that, he wants the experiments. He needs Anthony to continue his work because of whatever reason. And then he gets covered head to toe in gunge.
Yeah, he tries shooting at Brad, who's over by the fuse box, to try and use a coin to get the electricity back on to fry the thing, because they've kind of baited it so that the monster's eating the end of the cable.
Yeah.
And then he gets gunked on. The electricity's going through the creature. The creature's pulling the thing back out of itself, ripping its body apart.
Oh god, yeah, it was melting at one point into a
from
human
the electricity.
form,
That's
wasn't
right.
it?
Yeah. That's like the human form, I guess, like the brother.
Yeah.
That was him. But yeah, he ends up melting and going back in the hole, but all the while he's sinking and melting, he's wrapped a tentacle around Capone and pulls him down the hole with him as well. So everyone's going down this hole tonight.
There was that shot where Rod Steiger was stood there with the hat, and you could just tell that somebody's just poured gunge onto the hat, and he's like, no, Anthony! It was so bad.
But everyone else went down that hole and lived.
Yeah, and Anthony is dead.
Except him. Like, he goes down there and he's never coming back.
No, I think he wanted out of this movie as well. So that was his final death sequence.
And so you think the movie's over. You're like, wow.
And you're like, oh my god, are they going to get away? And Brad decides that he's going to go down and check out something in the basement. And I didn't get the actor's name, but he's from Grease 2.
Yeah.
And I kind of like Grease 2. So now when I watch Grease 2, I'm going to be looking at him going, oh, you're in the Kindred. But he gets down into the basement and he realises, oh shit, there's lots of little ones down here. We need to obviously stop them from escaping or killing other people. And he starts getting attacked, and they're kind of like piranhas. But he's had this whole plot point throughout the movie where he's trying to quit smoking.
Right, yeah.
And he comes across some explosive canisters, and they have no smoking on the side.
Yeah.
Which was like,
yeah, nice setup. Here's the payoff.
Payoff.
But it was the fact that all those canisters he was throwing in there just bounced like they were hollow.
They were hollow.
It's when he's got the petrol one as well, and he's shaking
nothing.
it. I think the cap's still on it. Like,
it was so bad.
And then he's got the magnesium or something. He does the trail all the way along.
Yeah.
And then he's got the cigarette with the lighter, and it's lit across the top. And he runs up, and the guys are upstairs are just like, yes, what's going on?
No, it was so dramatic because Brad set this up, and you're like, oh my god, it's going to be a big payoff. And he runs up the stairs, and you've got Sharon and Hart outside, and John had already gone outside with them, but gone back in to rescue Cindy.
Yeah.
And Cindy now is climbing out the hole, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about Cindy. And they have an extra little draggy kind of hold my hand, pull me up kind of moment. Fucking Brad runs outside, goes, hey guys, I'm about to blow up the house. And they're like, John's still in there. And he's like, I'll be back. And he runs all the way back in and goes, John, get out. And they run out and the house just explodes. Well, it doesn't really explode. It's like fire. It's on fire.
It goes up in flames.
Yeah.
And they drive away.
The creatures are screaming in
You
the
see
window.
them in the window,
And they all get in the ambulance and they all fuck off. Oh my god, we made it sound so fun. It is not. Nowhere near.
Yeah, we skipped a lot of the boring parts.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us some of the good parts?
Well, I mean, some of the fun moments, like, man, that tentacle to the face when Nell was driving and the thing appeared from the melon, that was a cool effect. I really kind of felt that was really hurting her.
It was the one through the nose and one through the ear.
Yeah, exactly. It was a great effect, but I didn't get why. Like, what was this thing? Why was it in the melon? How did it get in the melon?
Right.
Like, was it trying to eat her brain? Would it try to drive the car? Did it survive? Why was Nell leaving with the melon to go see her parents? I don't get. Did they celebrate
with 5
their
riders?
friendship?
You think there'd be some more threads, to follow, but no.
Yeah. Rod Steiger, he was pretty good in his sequences, especially the sequence in the hospital with Amanda Hollins, Zira from Planet of the Apes. The two of them really sold that they had been doing some experiments, and I think that's where the movie was all over the place. Maybe they had, the mum in first as part of the story, and they didn't think it'd work, so they brought in Steiger, and then they had to interweave it and all that kind of stuff. The gunge at the end, when he got that gunge on him at the end, my god, that was funny as hell. I just felt so bad for him.
Credit to him for doing his own stunts, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. But if you're getting paid and they can't afford stuntmen,
right.
You're fucking having to do your own fucking work. I just walked in. Hope you don't mind. That was Melissa's line. She was found in the lab and she'd walked in the middle of the night and just started working. And John's like, yeah, okay.
Yep.
Not only is he like, yeah, okay, but he's kind of flirtatious with it, where he's leaning over, and Sharon comes along and she's all kind of pissed at him, and he's like, why are you pissed? I'm like, fucking hell, John. It was so bad. I could make a joke out of fucking practically the entire movie, but I'm not, because I'm sick of it.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, literally the car attack, the barn attack, Melissa turning into a mermaid thing. And then the creature sort of turning up and then melting at the end. That's it. That's like, there's not really scenes. There's no like acting moment. There's no real comical moment. I suppose like I did like I think it's Brad when he turns up with his boombox and he's like, he plays the tape and he's like, I can't talk. I'm not talking to anyone, especially you. I'm trying to quit smoking.
That was good.
Pauses the tape and walks off. It's like, hey, I get that. Like trying to quit smoking. It's rough. It's rough. And I also liked his gadget. He's talking to the other girl, Cindy, and he's just like, look, it's this thing, and it ejects the cigarette and it lights it at the same time, and he does it, and it just explodes everywhere. And he's like, well, I'm trying to quit smoking, so it's kind of fine.
Yeah, it works.
I was like, right. And then, at the end of the movie, that's the device that kind of saves the day. So, that was fine. That was it, though.
Yeah, I mean, even when you say, like, the special effects, you've got to go through a lot of the movie to get to that ending.
You do.
And then even then, the ending's not even... Like, which is better, the exploding ending or the ending where they cover Bod Steiger and Gunge?
Yeah, covering your Gunge is pretty cool.
So you'd watch that ending and then just turn it off?
Yeah, I'll be done there. Seeing the little gizmos in the fire, in the window, screaming like, oh, no, I didn't need that.
No.
You leave it open for a sequel.
Yeah, why wasn't there a Kindred 2?
Oh, I wonder. Iain, do you recommend Kindred 1?
No. I'll only recommend it to people who just want to have a laugh. But even then, this movie is a stretch for a laugh. Like, if you remember how you felt while you were watching Halloween Ends, that's how the Kindred feels. Maybe worse. I don't know. I haven't gone back to Halloween Ends yet. But, like, this movie, so much is going on and it doesn't lead anywhere. People are trying to act out their scenes and it's just bad. The effects aren't even worth the hour and a half runtime to get to the end. But those are my personal opinions. Somebody somewhere might be like, hey, I love this movie, it's fun as hell, all these crazy things happen that you didn't mention. Yes, there's a reason why. Probably because I fell asleep twice. The Kindred, no thank you, no.
Yeah, I also can't really recommend The Kindred. And I would say it might, though, be worth a watch for horror fans that want to see some good practical slimy creature effects that I think look impressive and disturbing and holds up fairly well. Sadly, though, for me, that's the only attraction this film has. Michael John McCracken's special creature effects. The tentacles, the mutants in the lab, the bottled monstrosities, the skin-piercing attacks, and the grand finale reveal I felt was great. But sadly let down by a mixture of forgettable characters, okay mediocre acting, and a real lack of on-screen kills. It's got a very low body count, with most of the cast surviving to the end. It was honestly just a little bit disappointing. The music by David Newman was serviceable but nothing memorable. The direction and pace was slow. The plot filled with padding and excessive characters and plot points that didn't go anywhere. So, yeah, this to me should have been a 60-minute Outer Limits episode and condensed down to what it was trying to achieve. So I'd say give it a go if you want to see some cool 80s effects and creature work. Otherwise, skip this one. Some things are best left unborn. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.